Hey there, Nicole from Frosty Yarn. So today's video we are going to talk about fleece. How to select a great fleece, how to clean it, how to dye it professionally with professional acid reactive dyes in a way that will strip out the lanolin but not felt it and will evenly dye it. So the very first and most important thing to consider when you're buying fleece is that you're buying it from someone who breeds these animals specifically for spinners. And what that means is that they coat the fleece, meaning the sheep or goats or whatever are wearing a coat in between shearings. And you can tell a coated fleece because if you look at this and I shake it, notice there's nothing coming out. As a matter of fact, if you look really closely, there's absolutely nothing in here except a little bit of discoloration at the very ends, which will totally resolve during the wash. If there are burrs and sticks and dried food and poop tags, this is not a fleece you want to buy. Coated fleeces, I think if you're going to spend the money and the time to clean it, dye it, card it, spin it, start, you wouldn't put $2,000 rims on a Yugo, so don't buy a shitty fleece and then spend 10 hours trying to get all the burrs and poop out of it. Just buy one that was bred for that. This fleece is an award-winning fleece. It's a merino ewe. The ewe's name is Miranda, and it's from Mary Meadows Farm. And this was $42 for 2 pounds. I actually bought a couple of fleeces from her. So another thing you want to look for is 3-inch staple length or longer. Staple length meaning the length of the fiber. If it's shorter than this, you're not really going to be able to make they'll be super textured bats that you'll have to over twist to get them to stick together. So 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches, it's a great staple length for a spinner. Another thing you want to look at is to make sure that these fleeces that they're well skirted. So when I talk about well skirted, it means that the shearer, here's another thing. So too, when the shearer, a good professional shearer does this, the whole blanket comes off the fleece or the animal, it's called the blanket, in one big piece. And not, if the animal's moving and doesn't want to be in that position or the shearer is not very skilled, you'll get shortcuts and long and short and long and short, which, is a total hassle to have to pick through because you got to pick all the shortcuts out or you're going to have neps. And, nobody wants neps in their expensive ass fleece. So the other thing to consider is that you want a fleece that they've already trimmed the poop tags, the section underneath the neck where the food is, the back of the legs, all the areas that are pretty felted, matted, sticky, dirty. They're not charging you for that. So you want a fleece that is just the primo section of the animal, all one staple length, 3 inches or longer. It's worn a coat, minimum vegetable matter, minimum amount of lanolin. After you get through that, I'm going to describe the process and then I'm going to show the process. So we basically want to bring water up to just under boiling. You want to put 1.5 cups of, I use basically the cheap laundry detergent from the store. I've used Power, Scour, and Unicorn, whatever the fuck it was called, and Soak, and all different kinds of specific scouring stuff for wool, and it's extremely expensive, and in no way does it work better. I know some people use like Dawn and other grease cutting agents, but the problem with that is there's an enzyme that's in that soap that's meant to eat the grease, which, so far as I've heard, also eats the fiber and leaves it kind of rough if you look at it under a microscope. So anyway, I like Arm & Hammer. You can use any Tide, whatever, it doesn't matter. And you're going to use 1.5 cups into a big lobster pot full of near boiling water. We're going to put our fleece into a mesh garment bag and we're going to submerge it and we're going to keep it at just under a boil for 20 minutes. And then we pull it out gently, let the water sluice off, and we have another pot of near boiling water ready to transfer. That's our rinse bath. Then we go back into another soap bath and another rinse bath until it's clear. Once it's clear, we separate it up and we dye it. So let's move on to that portion. We're going to take a cup of our detergent into the hottest the tap water will go. We're going to put that on the stove and bring it up to just under boiling. We're going to take our mesh laundry bags and we're going to stuff them with the fleece nice and loose. We only want about 12 ounces, at the most a pound. You don't want this to be filled all the way, okay? Because if you stuff this tight with fleece, all the fleece in the middle is not going to get clean and you'll have soap residue left over. So about 12 ounces, at most a pound. So as you can see, there's plenty of room for this to move and for the soap to get all the way through. Now we're going to take our fleece. We're going to gently submerge it. Remember, you need heat and agitation to felt a fleece. Slowly. Now you can see how clean this fleece is because this is the first wash. And in a dirty fleece, this will be totally opaque, dark brown water. It doesn't even smell bad. So we're going to submerge all our fleeces just like these are all submerged. We're going to put on another pot of water, bring it up to just under boiling, and this will be our rinse when we're ready to move these. Our fleece, and gently pull it out and move it into, once it stops leaking, our rinse bucket. And over we go. Now we're going to dump this out and replace it with clean water and a half cup of soap. See how little dirt there is in this water? I could probably get away with not even washing it again, but I want to be thorough. As you can see, with just one wash and one rinse, we're pretty much there. So now we're going to transfer this into the fresh, heated up soap bath. Gently smoosh it down. And do the same for these. This is going to tell you when your fleece is ready to dye. See how the water is clear? And when I gently squish the fiber, there's no brown coming out. And you can see that the fiber is snow white, so no yellow lanolin anymore. So now we're going to do one final rinse and go directly to dyeing. While our fleece is in its final rinse, we're going to do 3 different dye methods. 1, individual colors in little glass ball jars. 2, we're going to do an ombre of color. And then 3, we're going to do the pie-shaped color. Okay, so let's get to it. 1/4 teaspoon of dye. I'm going to make a rainbow sampler up here with rhodamine red, hot pink, fluorescent orange, fluorescent yellow, brilliant violet, turquoise, and brilliant blue. We're going to fill it 3/4 with as hot as your tap water will go. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to take little sections of our fiber and into the dye bath it goes. Just enough so it comes near the top. And I do this all hot, fresh, hot, dye bath, hot water. You want to make sure it gets thoroughly saturated. So now I have this on the induction burner. It's filled with water, and we're going to leave this for 35 minutes on the heat and then let it cool to room temperature for a couple hours. Now we're just going to work the colors in pie wedges next to each other, and this will give us a nice kettle dyed effect. I squirt it in, and then we work it down so we don't have any white patches. We're going to go in with a hot purple pink. It's actually rhodamine red by Prochem. And here we have turquoise, one of my favorite of all time colors. And violet. Again, Brilliant Violet from ProChem is so bright and so saturated and so beautiful. And this is Bright Aqua from Dharma. It's been running very green recently, so beware of that. And there we go. Now we're going to heat set this for just under a half an hour at just under boiling. We can see the dye is fully absorbed, so now we're just going to rinse out our fiber. Make sure there's no soap residue left. Here's our finished result. I let them dry on these over the door wire hanger mesh things. I think you just search that on Amazon and you'll find them. They're for like linen and lingerie. And takes about 2 days to dry.